Hello and welcome to this next class of the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative. This is class number 24, meaning that we have been here every day at 7 p.m. consecutively since the past 24 days, and I'm very happy to see many of you here have also been very regular. In case you have still not subscribed to this channel, please do hit the subscribe button and also do like this video. Apart from this, the other initiatives that I'm running right now are the quick revision series for Prelims 2024. The video goes live at 6 p.m. every single day, and we are also running a special series for those with PSIR optional. We call that Decoding PSIR through answer writing. That's a series where we have videos on Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 4 p.m. So please make sure that you see all those initiatives as well as and when it is suitable for you. Let's come back here. What do we do here? Every day at 7 p.m. we try and take a previous year question from the UPSC, answer that, and then give your homework for your practice. A lot of you have been submitting your answers and I've been checking and reverting those copies to you, and I'm glad to see improvements there. In case you are new here, I have given the entire link of the playlist in this particular description of this video. Please click on that link. In case you want to change the earlier classes, please do that. Also, in the very first class of this series, we discussed about the structure of the answer, how to write the introduction, what to write in the intro, what to write in the main body, and what to write in the conclusion argument. So please make sure that you do see that first class in case you have missed that also. Let's move on to see what is a question that we will be answering today. Today again we have taken a question from 2023. It's a question from GS3 from Environment. Comment on the National Wetland Conservation Program initiated by the Government of India. So this is the first part. Then name a few of India's wetlands of international importance included in the Ramsar site. So this is the second part. Almost every question that the UPSC asks in the mains exam, almost every question will ask you at least 2 to 3 things. Very rarely will you see a question that is asking only one single thing. They will usually form the question in such a way that you have to write at least 2 or 3 things. Here you have to write 2 things. Second part is relatively easier. Second part is name some of the Indian sites, Indian wetlands rather, that are included in the Ramsar sites. So that is a part that most of you would know. The Chilka Lake, Bhitarkantnika, etc. You can write that. The first part is tricky. The reason is, in the first part of this question, they are asking you very specifically about a program being run by the government, National Wetland Conservation Program. The problem with these kind of questions is either you know it or you don't know it. Meaning that you cannot make assumptions. You cannot just write from your own mind. Either you have read about the program. If yes, great, you can write those pointers. If you have not read about this program, then this becomes a problem. Let's try and imagine a situation. Let's imagine you have not read about this program. Let's say you have no idea what is the National Wetland Conservation Program. What do you do? Now here, take a calculated guess. Just imagine if the government is running a program that is called Wetland Conservation Program, what will it do? In simple terms, what will it do? It will lead to, or it will look into conservation of wetlands. Simple. So what will be the components? Components, for example, will be to ensure that we run conservation programs, conservation or preservation, whatever you want to call it. Then it will also be, let's say the government would like to have research and development so that we can actually see how to conserve these, we can implement great strategies. It will also be about raising awareness amongst the common people, right? Taking help of the local community, so local stakeholders or local community should be involved. Again, I am not writing what exactly are the points in the program. I am writing, or we are just brainstorming that in case we don't know, what is the common sense here? In case we don't know what is it in this program, how to still approach this question by just using some common sense. So if you use some common sense, if the government is running a conservation program for a certain area, these are the usual things it will have. The research and development, awareness, local involvement, etc. So this is something that you will write. If you know the exact points, great, nothing better than that. But if you don't know the exact points, these are some of the things that you can work into. Now comes a part of the introduction. Ideally, in this introduction, you should write about this program. A line about, for example, when was it started, which ministry is responsible, something like that. Some fact about this particular program, the National Wetland Conservation Program, some kind of a fact about this would have been a perfect intro, the year, ministry, etc. But if you don't know, then what do you do? If you don't know about this, then what do you do? Other option that you have, maybe you can write a fact about wetlands, how important they are for our sustainable development, how the wetlands are considered as extremely important part of our environment, how countries around the world have been trying to preserve it because they give support to a large variety of flora and fauna that have a positive impact on the environment, something like that. Or let's say you don't even remember that, then maybe a fact about Ramsar sites can be included here. Again, this is not ideal. The ideal way to write an intro would be to comment on this program. But in case you don't know that, that is when these other options come in. Because understand this, we are practicing an answer. This is an ideal situation. You are writing from your free, open mind. You can search internet as well. You can gather all this information. But on the day of the examination, there will be a lot of pressure in your mind, and this is where you will have to be very careful. If in case you don't know, you don't remember, you still need to have options of what to write even if you don't remember it. Then that is where it has to be understood. So let's begin. The introduction part, as I said, will be or should be ideally about this program. So it was launched in 1985. We have written this in the first line. The idea is to protect the fragile wetland ecosystem and promote their conservation. Then we'll give a connecting line. Connecting line will be about the efforts that have been put in place to protect these sites by designated them as Ramsar sites. Something like this can be introduction. Then the main body. Again now, if you know the objectives of this program, great, write that. If you don't know, then you have to make a calculated guess. These are the objectives. Identify and assess means identify the wetlands that are in danger. Ensure that there are scientific assessments carried out on their ecological significance, on their socio-economic significance, so that the government can take steps to preserve them. Conservation management, this is obvious. The program itself talks about conservation C's for conservation here. So obviously you will have conservation, preservation efforts, for instance, from controlling pollution, ensuring restoration, managing water resources, etc. All these will be a part of the program. Capacity building. It is also again one of those generic phrases that will be a part of almost every government policy. Government policy including, let's say if there's a question about farming, you can still write capacity building of the farmers. If there's a question about unemployment, even there you can write capacity building of the youngsters. So capacity building are those phrases that easily fits into a lot of answers. So do make it a habit to write these phrases. It will make your job much easier to write such answers. Research and monitoring, as I told you, research has to be carried out about how to best put in efforts to conserve these wetlands. And again, legal framework to make sure there is a policy in place that has a legal backing so that efforts of the government do not go to waste. These are some of the objectives. We have written exactly what the objectives are in this program. Even if you did not know them, as I told you, you can still make a very good calculated guess here and then write from your own mind. The second part of the question was some of the Indian wetlands that are included in Ramsar site. So there's a lot of them, whichever you remember. Top 3, 4, 5, just write the names. Ideally, write at least one line about them. That would be even better. So here we have given example of Sundarbans, the Chilka Lake, Kaladiyo National Park. You don't have to write so much. Just writing one odd line will be enough. Just writing one odd line each. For example, where they are, what are they famous for, that would be good enough. So for example, for Chilka Lake, just this much would be good enough. Largest coastal lagoon in India, and it is usually seen as a great stopover destination for migratory birds coming from East Asia and Australasia flyway. Some of the other examples, Loktak Lake, Kaziranga, Bhitarkanika. Again, whichever you remember, the question does not tell you how many to give or how many examples to write. You write from your own mind, 3, 4, 5, at least write 3, that would be good enough. And then we'll conclude it by telling about the significance of the wetlands and the great role played by Ramsar Convention. You can also write about a way forward, how the government of India should implement this policy in not just letter but also in practice, and make sure that its benefits are distributed amongst the people in the society. Something like this can be a good conclusion about how the wetlands are important not just for our environment but also gives us employment opportunities, helping us in living a sustainable life forward. This brings us to the end of today's question, and this is your homework for today. Again, this is from GS3. It's a long question. Let's read this. What is the main task of India's third moon mission, which could not be achieved in its earlier mission? So this is part number 1. List the countries that have achieved this task, part number 2. Introduce the subsystems in spacecraft launched, part number 3. And explain the role of the Virtual Launch Control Center at the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, which has contributed to the successful launch from Sriharikota, part number 4. So again, very long question, technical question. If you have not read about Chandrayaan 3 in detail, it might become slightly tricky for you. But these kind of successful ISRO projects which are in the news are always important for the examination. So anyone preparing for last year would have read this in detail anyways. If you want, you can send this answer to my email ID. I'll be happy to check and give you feedback. Once again, requesting you to hit the subscribe button if you have not done so far. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.